I look at my heroes' filmographies as like a map where it's like I'm like I'm like in this dark cave, and maybe they walked through their footsteps, and they all have their own different paths they took in the cave, but I'm trying to mimic their paths as much as possible, where it's like I just want to follow these heroes of mine, and I want to go where they've gone, and I want to carry that torch.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Kimball Farley is an actor. He sat down with me on the Upper West Side of Manhattan to talk about the work.
Do you have a typical way that you like to begin your preparation process when you get a new character?
I do feel like it differs from character to character. Like I feel like I've kind of considered that maybe I'm like, are you familiar with like Lon Chaney?
Sure.
He something that was interesting about him was not that I do this, was he had like this like makeup kit he brought on every film, and he like did his own makeup, and like he created, they called him like the man of 1,000 faces or something. That's always like really interesting to me as an actor, in the sense that like on one hand, I know it's not all about looks at all, but on one hand, I want every character I play to look different from the last one. And so there's like something where it's like, okay, this is a new character. And so something that does help me is, what does this character look like? And so it's almost like an outside in approach where it's like, okay, this guy looks like, even just something where it's like, because I'll notice I, as a human, behave differently if like my hair's in my face, or if it's like slicked back, or like if what I'm wearing, I'll behave different, because maybe something might make me more timid, or something might make me more confident. And so I feel like I'll have an image of, okay, I kind of picture the guy looking like this. I kind of want him to look like this, and maybe that starts helping me move and walk around and talk, or maybe then that helps me do like a weird accent or something. And so I feel like it's often an outside in thing, but it's also like instinctual, because it's like, I guess you don't know until you've read the script. And so it's always like reading the script first, and you kind of then discover, okay, how this, because the other thing is as you know, like every character, there's a degree of yourself in it. And so it's like, this guy is maybe 5% like me. This guy is maybe 30% like me. This guy, and so then, not to say you have to do less work, but on one project, you might have to, learn an accent and do, learn how to ride a horse or do whatever. And on another thing, it might be like, okay, this guy is very similar to me. I'm not saying I can just show up, but I can do a whole lot less work in that sense.
Yeah. And does that freak you out a little bit? Like, because it's when somebody is actually too close to you, like you're like, oh, wait, I got to do something here.
Yes.
To bring this out, bring this distance.
Yes. Because that, like, I feel like on one hand, part of me doesn't want to do stuff that's too close to me. Yeah. But then in another sense, part of me wants, there's something about like, I think part of me gets a little nervous about it and wants to find one little thing that maybe differs the two of us, especially if you're playing like, it's the worst when you're playing like a real freak and you're like, oh, this guy's a lot like me. and you're like,
and it really shines light about how much of a freak you are.
Yeah, you're like, oh, fuck. Okay. So, but there's something about that where, like I try to always find something different, or like, I did this horror film like a year ago, and I felt like the character was quite similar to me, but he was also like a bit of like an Anthony Perkins and Psycho type, and so I was like, I feel like I can be a degree of myself here, but I also maybe want to play up the quirky weirdness. And so there are bits when I'm like watching it, like it's not out yet, but there are bits when I'm watching it where I'm like, oh, that's kind of like me. And then there's bits where I'm like, okay, there's the freak, And so it's nice if you can bring in something to differentiate yourself from it.
Is this the one where you had blonde hair, like really dyed blonde hair?
That's
and even your eyebrows?
Eyebrows. That's not out yet, but I did that with Al Warren. So that one's called Godhead, and it's
I can't wait.
and so it's funny because I made this movie called Hippo where I have blonde hair.
Yes.
And and so that was already, it was with the same director, Mark Rapaport. Originally I was like, oh, I don't want to do blonde hair again, because I was like, I did that for our movie Hippo, and that was also in black and white, and this is in black and white. And I just didn't want to repeat myself, but this one's still totally different, whereas Hippo, looks-wise, they're very different, and I have the eyebrows, my hair's a lot longer, and I do look quite like a freak. But I'm excited. That one is like, I would say that character is like, he's like an iron golem. It's like I was like, that one was just like a creature. That one is like so I'm excited for you to see that. But no, the one I was referencing was is actually with Henry, who we just worked with together. Yes. We did another movie a year ago called Recluse that should be out next year, and I'm the groundskeeper, this like estate, and this girl comes back and like her father's like a famous painter and he's dying, and I'm like just like this weird groundskeeper and whatnot. My God.
You have a lot of things in the pipeline here.
There's a
lot of things that are getting done.
There is a lot of stuff that's like not out yet. Yeah.
So that, I mean, almost, is everything going to come out at one time?
Almost. It's funny, like there's a few things where it's like so I'm trying to think of everything that's not out yet. Like, I guess
done.
Like that's done. Yeah. Like I did Hippo. I did. It's funny because a lot of these came out, I filmed at different times. I made this movie called Mouse, another one-word animal title, like shortly after Hippo, that's doing festivals right now. It's not technically, I think it'll come out in like June 2026. And then I did The Righteous Gemstones after that, which is out. But then after that, then I did Recluse with Henry, and I did this zombie movie with that I'm only in for like 7 minutes, but George Romero.
Yeah.
His daughter Tina Romero is like carrying the legacy, and she made this very fun zombie movie called Queens of the Dead, and it's like if the zombie apocalypse started at like a drag club in Bushwick. And
my God.
And
wait, I've seen this has been around now.
Yeah. So it's been doing a lot of festivals. It won the audience award at Tribeca.
Oh, nice.
And so that, and then I did
then Godhead
with Al, and then These Woods Are Lovely with you and Henry, and and many others, and that I think that's all the stuff I've filmed recently. Unless I'm forgetting something, maybe like a short film or two here and there.
Well, now we have to put a pin in that, and we got to go back. I mean, because that's exciting, but we have to go back now.
We have to go back.
I don't know this about you. Like, how did it all start? How did you get the bug, the acting bug? When did that happen? So how did you get into this?
Oh, man. And this might be similar to a lot of actors, I guess, nowadays, or kind of... even for the past few decades, I guess. But like, for me, I remembered, like I was always just like a kid when I was like 9 or 10, I was always doing like weird voices and like characters. And you're like, okay, this kid's either going to be like, like a serial killer, schizophrenic person, or he's going to be like an actor. And then when I was like 11, I met my childhood best friend. He would come over kind of every day, but like on Friday nights, my mom and dad would go on date nights. They were just like, we should have a date night every Friday night, and so they would go on their date. And when they went on their date, they had like an old Sony Digicam sort of thing, and we would take their video camera and we would film. We'd make really horrible home movies, and it'd be stuff like I bought like a Sonic game on the Wii, and it came with like a Sonic hat that like had his ears and his blue hair. And so it's like I'd play Sonic, or like we'd make like weird horror movies and things. And it was stuff that we never actually could watch because I didn't know how to edit anything. So we would just watch it on the camera. Like we'd go through the clips and we'd be like, oh, that's a movie, But that's like where I began to feel the electricity of it all. And I was like, oh, there's something here. There's something I want to do here. And then throughout middle school and high school, we kept doing it, and we'd make comedy sketches, and we'd make little short films, and eventually we did learn how to edit. But that's kind of where it all started. And then I would do plays and musicals in high school. But really, like, I kind of knew from when I was like 10 or 11, I was like, this is what I want to do, and this is all I want to do, and I know I'm going to do it. And because of that, my schoolwork suffered. And so I had like 2.0 or less GPA. My mom was very surprised that I graduated high school. She was like thrilled when they said my name. And there was even a time where I had to like meet with like some counselors because they were like, they just wanted to check and make sure I wasn't like doing meth or something because my grades were so bad. But like I literally had an A in theater and I had like Fs in everything else. And they would just want to make sure I was okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like missing so much school and like, cause I would just like, but like my mom was very sweet. She let me play hooky, but I maybe, I guess that's what they called it in Arizona. I don't know what they call it everywhere else. So people might be listening. They're like, what's hooky? You know? But so that really is where it all started. And then,
was your mom supportive of you as an artist?
Yeah, actually, I was very, very fortunate. Like my mom and dad, I think at the very beginning when I very first started mentioning it, they were a little bit like, okay, I don't know. They didn't know what that was like. Like my dad works in trucking. I think at the time my mom was doing like eyelashes, because I grew up in Arizona. And I think that's what they were doing at the time. But I remember at the time they were like a little bit nervous. They're like, okay, maybe you should still go to college for it. But then after a while they saw like how like driven I was by it and how it was like all I wanted. And they were like, okay, this is what he wants. And so I was very lucky in that regard. Yeah. And my dad was also very much like he kind of taught me and my brother and sister growing up, like every year we would have like family goals that we'd put like on the fridge where it's like, and we'd try to make it rhyme. So it's like, so I'm gonna like, you know, success times 11 in 2007. That was really bad. I was probably something better than that, but we tried to make it rhyme and it'd be on the fridge and it'd be everyone's goals. Yeah. And so in some ways it was embarrassing because people would come over and be like, oh, Kim, we're getting 2 movies this year, huh? Or whatever. And they'd read your goals and you're like 12 years old. And I'm like, it's gonna happen, I promise. You know, like, but that was what I wanted. That I was like, I know I'm gonna do this. And so my dad, very luckily kind of instilled in us like a very like goal oriented, like let's write down your goals at the beginning of every year. And so they were very supportive, luckily.
Do you still do a version of that?
I do actually.
That's great. I think there's something about that.
It's very interesting. I feel like it's just like kind of like, I can't imagine life without it. There was a period where I got too heavily into it where I was like, because I'm also a firm believer of like the law of attraction. Like I'm of the belief where it's like if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And so I've had all of my dreams and goals in my head for so long, and I know I'll one day hold them in my hand. And I got to the point where I was like, I don't do it to this extent anymore, but I got to the point where when I first moved to California, like I'd drive out to like a park that like overlooked a hill and I'd write down all of my goals in present tense to just try to get them in the mind that it's like, I am this, I have this, I've done this. But because I had so many, it would go on for like, I'd be sitting at the park for like 2 hours every day. Like I can't be like at the park for like 3 hours a day writing, and I'm filling out like hundreds of notebooks. Like, and they all just say the same thing. People would probably find them and think I'm like the Unabomber, you know, like, I'm like saying crazy stuff like
extremely accomplished man who's just saying what's actually happened.
Literally just saying what's actually happened. It's funny though, because it's like, it's like someone's gonna find these notebooks and it's like, I have worked with Paul Thomas Anderson. I have worked with Paul Thomas Anderson. I have worked with Paul Thomas Anderson. And it's like, oh, keep this guy away from Paul Thomas Anderson. You know, exactly. And so I did get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm doing this a lot, and not in a way where it's like I'm gonna stop doing this, because what I realized was once I finally started doing things and working on things, that's when I almost tended to do it less. I still would write down my goals, and I still write down my goals at the beginning of every year and all that. And I write down kind of like plans. Now it's more so like I have a to-do list for every day, and I write down my goals for every year, and I write them down at the beginning of the year, and then I don't look at them again because it's just like I'm, you know. And what's cool is then you flip through, but it's interesting. Like a lot of the stuff has worked. And it's not like you can just write this stuff down and then just that's it. You have to do the work. But what's interesting is years ago, I remember seeing the announcement for like the Righteous Gemstones, like they're working. Dan McBride's working on the show or whatever, and I saw, that was like 2018. I remember when I saw that, I was very like, I want to get on that because I grew up Mormon. I'm not religious anymore. But I'm sure there's something after life. I like to imagine, you know. But the reason I bring that up is I've always been very infatuated with like the televangelist world and like showman type religion. Like There Will Be Blood, Paul Dano, There Will Be Blood. That stuff's always been very interesting to me. And so when I heard that he was making a show about this, I was like, oh my God, I really want to get on that. And so I have a note actually in my phone from 2018. I just wrote like, get on the Righteous Gemstones. And it took, 6 years, but there is, I do have a belief in that where it's like what you write down will come about, you just got to keep like inching your way there.
Yes. I'm curious why you didn't write, I am on the
I am on. I honestly, some of those old notebooks I probably did. It's like, those old notebooks are crazy. I'll have to find them someday.
I think there's something to that. I don't know why I never heard of that. Like writing in the present tense.
And I think
it's kind of powerful. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, and I think like it's like, because I had read all these like law of attraction books, and I was like so like and I would also like sit for like 10 minutes and like just visualize, where it's like I'm just visualizing like, oh, I'm shaking hands with people I want to be shaking hands with, and I'm like I'm making movies with people I want to be making movies with. And it's all these things that are very like grand, very big, and you sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm if someone saw me right now, they'd think I'm like Robert De Niro, I'm the king of comedy, but there's something about it where it's like, I do feel like it does things for you and it gets you where you want to go. And I think the present tense thing was like, it was like, I heard something about if you write like, not that this will happen, not that something won't happen if you write, I will do this or whatever, or accomplish this by whatever date. But like one law of attraction book said something along the lines of like, if you say, I will do something, you're putting it in the future constantly. Yes. Like you're like, oh, I'm putting this in the future, like, which means I don't have it yet. And so if you say, I am this or I have this, that means you already are that. Yeah. And there's something.
Time doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And there's something about like the universe and the energy of the world where it's true, like the energy of everything you want already exists. Yes. Like everything already exists. Everything you want already exists. And so it's almost like doing that and visualizing that puts yourself on that frequency to like get closer to it.
Yes. So what did you do knowing you wanted to do this to kind of break in? Like what are the earliest things that you did to kind of be like, all right, let me try and actually do this for real?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting coming from Arizona. Arizona doesn't have like any film taxes as far as I know. Maybe now it does, but I remember at the time, because in high school was when I really started being like, I want to try to start auditioning for things. And so I did audition for the few things that got out there in Arizona. Like I'd find auditions on the internet, and there'd be maybe small short films or like a very small indie film, or like a commercial or like an anti-bullying ad, but it'd be the smallest things because, and I didn't know this when I was living there, but it's just that, if something is set in Arizona, they're likely going to film in New Mexico because it looks the exact same. The taxes are just better to do so. And so, and I knew that I was eventually going to want to move to LA. Like that was my plan. I was like, I'm going to move to California. And I did end up doing that. But for me, it was like, the main way I really started was I would like make little short films like with my cousin, and I'd be like, this will be like my calling card, where it's really, these are really odd little short films, and they might be horrible, but this is like me acting, and I can send this to like directors or something. Mm-hmm. And so I made like a tiny little short film with my cousin, and I started like becoming aware of like indie directors in the scene that are like burgeoning directors that are, maybe at like Fantasia or places. Yeah. I started becoming aware of like, okay, who's popping on the scene? And I would just be like, because I'd be auditioning at the time. At the time, I didn't have a manager. I didn't have representation. And so you'd only do like, I'd do a few auditions But it was where I found more of my success was just networking with directors and being like, reaching out and being like, hey, I'd really love to work with you. And some people responded to that, some people didn't. But through that, I made like some friends. Like that's how I met Mark Rapaport, who I made Hippo with. And it was a thing where it's like, I sent him this short film and he really responded to it. And he was like, I have this like film I'm trying to make. At the time, it was like there was a short film which we have made now that's out. It's just called Andronicus, and he said like, he was like, I mean this as a compliment, but you have like school shooter energy about you. And he was like, do you care to read the script? And I was like, yes, please.
You didn't think like, who is this guy who thinks that's a compliment? Do I want to associate with him?
There was part of me that was like, that's an interesting thing to say. But then there was part of me that was like, he's onto something. And I always wanted to, I feel like I've always loved like freak psycho characters. And so I was like, I'm very interested in this. And so we made the short film. What's interesting is then that was my first ever time in New York because I was living in California at the time. We made that short film in 2020. And it was at the height of COVID in like July. And so my introduction to New York was this ghost town. And I like flew into Newark because they weren't letting people fly into New York at the time. And I remember I got in the Uber to like go over to the Airbnb and I told my Uber driver like, this is my first time in New York, and he was very kind, and he took me on like this giant tour. Like he went out of his way to like take me. He took me down like Rockefeller and like where he showed me, that's like the Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon. He showed me all these things and like like Grand Central and whatever. But what was weird was it was genuinely everything was empty. Like there was no one outside, and so I was like, that was my introduction to New York, where it was like there was very little cars and no one was outside, and it was like this like empty snow globe. And then we did the short film together and we just really hit it off, and that kind of created a snowball of like, hey, we really like working together. What if we like write something together that we can make, that I can direct and you can act in? Yeah. And then that's kind of how Hippo came about. Interesting. And it's cool because with him, writing to me, it's like an extension of acting, where it's like I get a chance to like live with the character a little bit longer, or it's like an exercise where it's like, with him, he'll say, what kind of character do you want to play? And I'll say, I've always wanted to play, I'd like to expand on the sociopath character that we did in the short film. Or I've always wanted to play like the son of a cult leader, or play a cult leader. Yeah. And so we'll start with like stuff like that. And it's like, okay, now let's toss ideas back and forth. Like, let's write about this sort of thing. And so that's how Hippo came about. And then kind of through there, it's interesting. It's like this the snowball effect of everything you do kind of almost helps you get your next thing. Because then through Hippo, that helped me, that like went to festivals, and then I met other directors through there that then I worked with, and then Rough House, Danny McBride and David Gordon Green produced Hippo. Like they came on, and then when that audition came about, it's like I had friends in the room, and so it's like kind of everything gets you everything. It's like a giant snowball falling down a hill or something.
And you almost have to just say yes to things, be in rooms with people, meet people. Right? That's all part of this, isn't it? Yeah. Because then you're like, you're building your network, and you're like, you're just expanding. It's just nice to then know more and more people, and you eventually realize how small the industry really is. Right. It's very, very small. Right. Everyone kind of knows everyone, and if they don't, they know someone that knows that person. Yes. Yes. And you seem like I know you're probably a true asshole, but you seem like a very nice guy. So you might be right. So I mean, let's be real. That kind of helps, right? People like you. You like people. I like people. I do like people. Right. And that definitely helps. I do think, of course you need. Because that's the other thing. You can care so much and you can want to work so hard and network and all that, but you do need to be able to get along with people too. Because that is the thing at the end of the day when you're making art with people. It's like it's a circus tent that like pops up at whatever location you're in, whether you're filming in Utah or Charleston or wherever. You're like this circus tent of people comes together,
and they're all there for the same reason. It's to make a movie, and it's to make art, and it's a really beautiful thing. And so you have to learn to live in harmony with all of these people that are very different, and come together for this like beautiful final product that we're all striving for. And so yeah, you do need to be able to work with people and meet people. And I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day about like, it's interesting. I feel like being in this industry, you meet so many people just through working. You end up meeting so many people, and it's like on one film you'll meet 30 people, and maybe of those 30 people, 5 will become really good friends. Yeah. Maybe 1 and maybe 2 will become like best friends, and these will be people that you're going to keep working with.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You meet so many people, and then you'll be on a film and you'll be like, oh, you know this person, you know this person, and it's just such a small world. It's so small.
Yeah. Here's a quote, and it's about from you, and it's about what you were just talking about, but it goes even further, I think. You said, there's something about writing for me. It helps me act.
It does. I guess, oh man, I wonder what I was talking about. That's so funny.
I think you were talking about what you were just talking about how spending time
with the character
writing is like the preparation.
Totally.
It's like more preparation than even somebody would go through if they were received the role that was already written.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of building it.
And honestly, I'll be honest, I agree with what I'm saying. I agree.
Well, isn't that good? Thank God.
Well, because it's true though, because I do believe there is something very nice about it, where you getting to write and creating the character that you're going to play, because it's like, okay, so for instance, like writing Hippo, like me and Mark, he'd be maybe looking at the big picture and I'd be looking at the character, and he would almost talk to me like I was Hippo. He'd be like, what do you think you would do here? What do you think you would do here? And I'd be like, well, maybe I would do this. And you get to you're already kind of reacting to things as the character, because you're like, well, I wouldn't like that. Well, I would like that. Yeah. Well, that would make me get out my crossbow and kill that person. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's like, so there's something about living with the character early and getting to write like that, I do think is very, very helpful, because then you already have this grand idea of things. Yeah. And then on set, because we did the same thing for Godhead, on set of that, for instance, Mark will come to me and he can almost ask like a story question that's also a character question, and we can just kind of have this like inner dialogue that's like our own language, where it's like, what do you think about XYZ? And it's different than if I just come on a film and I'm like just acting in it, which I obviously love as well. There's something about the separation as well that I do love, where it's like, oh, someone else wrote this character and I'm jumping into this world kind of blind. Yeah. I do love that. Like, I don't want to write everything I do, but there's beauty to both. And the beauty of writing for yourself or with yourself or whatever, is you do get to live with that character longer. And I feel like it's like, it's like a fun way of experiencing just that world and kind of like marinating. It's like, you put like a big teriyaki chicken in the fridge and you're like, I'm going to let this just soak up this sauce for 3 weeks. I don't know. I think it's how long it takes. I should learn how to cook, but but it's like that, where you're like letting it marinate, and you're like, and sometimes when you're not doing that, you're just kind of jumping in like a naked chicken. Sorry to use this chicken analogy so much.
No, but, either it's dead or it's naked.
It's dead or it's naked or it's in some sauce. but yeah, like it really does help. It helps me a lot. And we've written a few things together now, me and Mark, and some things that we haven't filmed yet. And like we're even like writing something new right now. And it's kind of always that same process where it's like, it's fun because it's like, yeah, like what do you think you would do here as this character,
it's like a choose your own adventure type thing, where then when you're making those decisions, then when you're actually filming it, now you're acting it, but you know what the impetus was.
Yeah.
So that's most ideal.
Yeah, and it's true, because it's like, a lot of course this is obvious, but a lot of actors would be like, oh, you should read the script like 100 times before you, not only for memorization, but just so you know the story, and even just to know the core, like, okay, this is where the story's going to go, because this could affect my choices as an actor, or even like, because okay, now I'm kind of jumping thoughts, but also like you even have to be thinking about what the editor is thinking about when he gets all the footage, or whenever they get all the footage. It's this thing of like, you know, when I was doing like when I did Righteous Gemstones, like one day on set, it's like basic knowledge, but when you're hearing it at the time, you're like, oh, that's genius. Like I remember there was a scene where like me and Bradley, we won this poker game. We had all this money and and we're counting the money at the table. And this is after the game. And the game is like slightly more high energy. We're cheating the major out of all of his money. And when we got to the scene of filming, where we're in the tent counting our money, Danny McBride was like, I remember I did the scene one way, and Danny was like, hey, Kimball, do this like super high energy, like really, really excited, because this is gonna be coming right off of the poker game. And so it'll be great to transition to you being very high energy. And I was like, oh, that's genius. And so then I'm like slapping the table and like going crazy. And it's those things that you're like, oh, that's so smart. Like, why didn't I think of that? Like, it's like in the script, I'm coming off of this high energy poker game, so I should have more energy here. And then in the editing room, it's like a greater cut, because it's like, okay, they're high energy in here. I don't want to cut to like a lower energy here. It's like, I kind of want it to match the rhythm.
This is why if you know what you need, it's so much better as a filmmaker, right?
Yeah.
And you're helping actors so much.
Totally.
By just knowing what you need and imagining it coming together in the edit.
Yeah.
So many people don't edit.
No.
And then they have to learn this somehow the hard way.
Yeah.
Of like, wow, I thought everything was right, but look at this.
It's true, and sometimes you because I know this is also such basic knowledge, but like, you know, you do make those three different movies. It's the movie in the script, it's the movie on set, and the movie in the editing room. And they're all so different. Even when you're reading the script, you have a different idea in your head of what that filmmaking process is going to look like. Like, you're like, oh, it's probably gonna look like this on the day, and this, you know. And then you get there and you're like, oh, this is totally different how I imagined it, but I love it. I love what we're doing. And then you watch the movie and you're like, whoa, that's not what I remember doing on set. Or as an actor, you'll watch like a take of yours and you'll be like, man, like it's the simplest thing. It's not even like acting necessarily, but you'll be like, I wish I didn't turn my head all the way over there, you know, because I feel like, because it's also, acting for the camera is so much more technical, of course, than just acting on stage. And you'll find moments where you're like, oh, you know what I would change there? I would literally have just turned my head to this spot in the light, you know? And it's stuff that you're not thinking about because you're just acting.
Right.
But it's the stuff, it's kind of like every film you get to learn more and do more, and you're like, it's more of a school. And so writing, I guess this is my long-winded way of saying, similar to editing, it's very helpful to just know that whole story ahead of time.
Yes.
And because you helped create it.
Yes, and it's knowing it in another way. It's knowing it in the purest way, essentially. Like, if you don't do it this way, you have to do so much preparation where it feels like you wrote it.
Yeah.
Then you're back to what you're talking about.
Yeah, like that's the other thing. If you're coming on a film, like if like you just got cast in something and you're brought in blindly, then ideally you do read it enough where you're basically a filmmaker at that point.
Yes.
Like, you know the story like the back of your hand, and because also some people won't catch, like you might be filming something and there might be like an error. And you know, obviously there's 30 people on set. Someone's going to catch, but you might be like, oh, story-wise, this moment doesn't make sense. Shouldn't I be walking from here, A to B, you know? Right. And they're like, oh, that's so right. You know, like it's like the smallest things, but like you want everyone to be on their A game just because everyone wants it to be perfect,
right,
you know?
Right. And you want everyone to be at their best.
Yeah.
Compare and contrast these screen partners. Al Warren, Peter Rinaldi, Bradley Cooper. Go.
I love this. This is my favorite question. Okay, Peter Rinaldi at the top.
You heard in here first. Sorry, Bradley. Al, I know Al's listening.
I know Al's listening.
You knew that was going to happen.
Al, come on, you knew that was happening. Oh my goodness.
And I don't even mean this as necessarily tears.
No, you know what's funny though? The three of you genuinely are like, if I have so many people that I loved to working with, but like the three of you like hit me in a way where I was like, like that was, cause like, okay, the people listening right now, me and Peter did a movie together that's not out yet, but when we filmed together, it was like electric, and I thought it was like the most fun I had in a while, and it was like so exciting, and I just had been looking forward to it for so long, and so that was very fun for me, and it's funny,
and Al Warren told me about you. He said you got to have this guy on your show, and you know, I think he knows not to do that with me.
Do you really?
That's a no-no.
Is that a no-no?
Yeah. I don't like that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but it's Al.
It's Al,
and I love Al, and I pay attention to that.
Oh yeah.
You know? But of course.
I mean,
of course, I ignored it though.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
I was like, who's this guy? No way.
But you did seep in to my consciousness through Al.
That's so funny. That's so wild.
So you had made an impression on him.
Oh, well, I mean, he made an impression on me. I mean, it's so funny. So like, so me and my girlfriend, Sarah Coffey, she's an actress and comedian. And we did a short film with Al called Trauma Bonds that just went to like that New Next festival. And it's really quite a lovely story of this guy. Okay, so she plays like this girl boss sort of like CEO type that's about to sell her tech company for like $16 million, and I'm kind of the stay-at-home dad that like gardens and makes her food and makes her coffee in the morning, and my character starts feeling like a little bit like, oh, she's about to make this big deal, she's not gonna love me anymore. And so he like hires kidnappers to like kidnap her so he can save her, so she'll love him again. And then Al is the detective that comes in, and he's like, he immediately catches a whiff of my character and is like, okay, something's not right here. But we filmed that in like, I want to say March 2024, and I had heard of Al and I'd known of Al, and I'd seen like some Christopher Borgley shorts and things, and he was a guy that was in my consciousness already. And
you hadn't seen Dogleg yet.
I hadn't seen Dogleg yet, and I had and I honestly don't know at the time. I don't think I'd seen like Dream Scenario. I think I'd mainly seen him in short films, but I really liked his work. And I remember there was just something cosmic about, because that short is like this three-hander of it's me, Sarah, and Al, and we're just playing, and meeting him, I was like, who is this guy? I was like, this guy is magical. He's a very giving actor, he's a very intelligent actor, and he is so much fun. And it was very fun because that was just like a pure comedy, and so we got to like really improv together and play around, and I was like, who is this guy? It's like you're throwing like, it's like you're playing like, it was racquetball, the one where you're throwing balls at the wall or whatever. Yes. Like, it's like you're playing racquetball with someone that's just like hitting it back at exactly your tempo. And you're like, this guy is amazing. And so we both, me and Sarah, were like in love with him. And we were like, and it's funny, he's one of those guys that you just feel like, you're like, we were just, this is such a weird thing to say it's not a weird thing, but like we were just talking the other day, we were like, man, we wish we met him before he got married so we could have gone to his wedding. You know, it's like such a random thing. But
that's such a nice thing. That's such a nice thing to say.
We just like love him so much. And and he, but we really, really hit it off with him. And then it was so cool that we, because Sarah's also in Godhead, we all three got to do this movie again that's insanely different. Like, me and Sarah are playing like incestuous twin siblings that are kind of dressed like Heaven's Gate sort of vibe, you know, like and Al is this priest in like it's like a Southern Gothic world, and it's it's really wild and weird, and It's the total opposite of the short film we made, but it was fun to then jump in again and do that with him.
Yeah.
And do this like dark drama, horror, weird thriller thing.
Wow.
And to see those, like to play those sides where we're all playing very different characters. It was so much fun. And he's someone that like, I'd love to return to again and again throughout my career. Like I'd love to like work with him again and again and just be like, because I as an actor also selfishly, I just want to work off of him and I want to play racquetball with him.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to play racquetball with him.
Yeah. I think if anybody knew how much I think about Al Warren,
me
they
too.
would be scared.
Oh, they would. Oh yeah, me too. I talk about him every day.
I mean, I just dream of things for him to do.
Me too.
You know,
me too.
Because he seems like he could do all these things.
Oh,
right?
he can do anything.
Yeah,
I'm a believer that Al Warren can do anything.
Yeah, Al Warren gave us $500 each to talk for 5 minutes. I think we just hit it. Okay,
okay,
right,
we got the 500 now. Bradley Cooper.
Were you? So when this dream comes true, that you're on Righteous Gemstones, did you know that you were going to be working with Bradley Cooper? When did you know?
So what's funny is I remember when the audition came about. It was like April. It was early April 2024. And I remembered thinking at some point, I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if like an audition for Righteous Gemstones came up because Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and Jody Hill produced Hippo. Like it'd be really cool to like just get that opportunity to just audition. I feel like I could do a good job in that world. And then the audition came about and I was like, okay, here it is. I have to make this the best audition of my life. And I remember like, I did all these things where I was like, I made the character. I was like, I want to make this character super fidgety and weird. I want his like jaw to be almost like wired shut. Like I was like thinking like this is like a version of like Joaquin Phoenix in The Master, but if he was like a product of incest, like Confederacy, and like just dumb, and so I want him like to talk like he has this like wired, and I like remember like I was like just walking around the apartment like moving like this freak like talking like that, and I was like I'm gonna make this the best audition I've ever done, and so I sent in the audition, and I think I remember hearing fairly quickly that they like really liked it, and that like I was like in the running for it, and but I remembered but then my friend Julian Lewichka, who's a producer at Rough House, he called me and he was like, they really love your tape. He's like, Danny really loved your tape. They basically were just trying to figure out basically he told me at that moment, like, he's like, crazy news, but like Bradley Cooper is going to be playing Elijah Gemstones. And I was like, oh my God. Like I was like, and so the second I heard that, I was like, okay, so they're probably going to get like, Leonardo DiCaprio to play my role. You're thinking basically if they're getting Bradley Cooper. And so I was a little bit bummed because I was like, not at all bummed. I would kill to work with Bradley Cooper. I love him. But I was like, damn, that probably means it's not going to be me. But that's fine because he was like, Danny really wants to get you in somewhere in the season. It almost felt like it was like, okay, it's going in another direction.
Yeah, it would have let you off easy then because you would be like, all right, it's not quite a rejection.
It's like I should pop in there somewhere was the vibe. And so I was like, okay, that's I was really eager to go work on that. I'm dying to do something like this so bad. I didn't say that to him, but in my mind I was like, I'm dying to do something like this. But I'm like, okay, I'll just put it aside for now. But because it wasn't a full no, I still was like checking on it, and I was like checking with my manager, and then I remember like I have like the screenshot, like my manager called like I want to say like May 19th or something, and it was like one of the, like like he doesn't often like just call blindly, and so I remember I was like literally like reading this Dennis Hopper interview that he did for like Interview magazine. Like in like 2010 or something. It was like somewhere around before he died. And I just was reading this interview on Interview magazine, and he called, and it was like a beautiful kind of eerie because he was like, what you doing? And it was like, and I was like, I'm reading I'm reading a Dennis Hopper interview, and like he's like really cool, like and it was like stuff like that where it was like what's going on? Like I felt like I was in like a weird dream, and he's like I was like I'm calling because you got the role, and I was like no way, and I like was like freaking out, like I screenshotted the phone call, and like I was like, and it was cool too because it was like this is my first time on TV. This is like the first ever, and it was also like wild because I was like, even just the fact that it was like HBO, like you know, as a kid you dream of like you dream of I dreamt of being like on HBO. I dreamt of working with Danny McBride. I dreamt of working with Bradley Cooper. These are all people I've dreamt of working with, but then to find out, like, hey, you're going to be acting with Bradley Cooper and directed by Danny McBride, I was like, that's crazy. And so I was nervous for a few weeks leading up to it, just because I was like, okay, like, and I remember me and my girlfriend, we watched. She was like, okay, this is something I told Bradley actually on set, but growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch rated R movies until I was like 17. Now my mom and dad are like, you know, we wish they have the same taste as me at this point. They're like, oh, I don't know why we made you wait, but because of that timeline. Weirdly, the first ever rated R movie I saw was American Sniper with Bradley Cooper. And so I told this to Bradley, and he's like, whoa. And we were both like freaking out. He's like, isn't that so surreal? And he's like, my first rated R movie was Elephant Man. And that's cool too, because he did that on Broadway.
That's right.
And so, but he was like, and I remember, like, so before filming with him, my girlfriend was like, oh, you got to watch Wedding Crashers. You haven't seen Wedding Crashers yet. So we watched Wedding Crashers, and I'm like seeing this guy who I've looked up to for some time, because I remember like being blown away by like Silver Linings Playbook, his performance in that, or like, you know, I loved him in American Sniper, or like I thought he was amazing in Nightmare Alley, or like, you know, I'll be honest, I do think he should have. I do think he should have won the Oscar for A Star Is Born. I thought his performance in that was amazing, right? And I think his singing is amazing. I think like the way he handled like being an alcoholic, all these things, and you know, and like his own personal struggles. Like I just think he's amazing, and so. Seeing this guy who to me is like a giant, where it's and I really, I mean, to anyone I think he's a giant. Like he's nominated for like 12 Oscars. Like he's like a real like Warren Beatty, like you know, like multi-hyphenate guy that's like a legend. That's like a real movie star. Like when I found out, like when I as it was getting closer, I was nervous because I was like, oh man, like, because also beforehand you're like, he could act any sort of way. He could be a diva if he wants. He could be rude. He could, you know, and you're like, I just want to be on my best behavior. Like I don't want to do anything to upset him. But then I remember I was like in the holding van. I got to set, and you know, it's this gigantic Confederate camp, like this, like the production designer, this guy Richard Wright, he's incredible, and he built this like whole like Dances with Wolves set, you know, and he it's already gigantic and amazing. I'm in this holding van because it's like June in Charleston. It's like super hot, and I'm wearing this like Confederate garb that's like, you know, feels like you're wearing eyelashes, and it's like and it's like and so it's hot, and so I'm in this holding van. The guy that drove me there is like watching baseball, and then like I see all these like cars drive by, and like all these like soldiers start getting out, and then suddenly Bradley Cooper walks like right by our van, and he's like dirty, and he's got mud on him, and he's just got these like sharp, piercing blue eyes, and I was like, oh wow, he's real. Like that's a real guy, you know. Like I knew he was a real guy, but like, but when you're like when you see him in real life, you're like, whoa, that's a guy. Like that's a guy that he's a guy, and I'm a guy, and you're like, and that's him right there, and I've seen him for years, and I don't normally get starstruck, but I was like I was nervous, and so then I you know, let him walk out there, and then like they're like, all right, they're ready for you now. So then I get out of the van, and like Danny McBride just pops out of the bushes, and like and okay, also like I also like had never met him, like I like even though he produced Hippo, like I hadn't met him yet. Like I you know, I saw his signature on the documents, all that stuff. I'd never like met him, and so he just pops out of the bushes, and he's like, dude, Kimball, loved your tape, man. And like, and I was like, oh my God, it's Danny McBride. And so then you're like hit with all these people. You feel like you're like, I don't know, it's wild. But like, but he was so nice and lovely. And like I'll forever look up to and be indebted to Danny McBride, because I just feel like, for one, he produced Hippo, but for another, like bringing me on this and like having the faith in me to do this. And he just was so sweet while filming, and so just like so wonderful to work with. And then he was like so sweet at the premiere. Like it's one of those things where you're like, wow, like I will remember this forever, you know? And so he brings me up the mountain to go film with Bradley. And he's like, Bradley, this is Kimball. Kimball, this is Bradley. And I just couldn't help myself, because I'm like, because in your brain, you're like, do I pretend to not know him? Like, of course I know him, you know, because he's Bradley Cooper. And so I because I'm like a weird freak, I don't know why, I was like, you're a god. And then I turned to Danny and I was like, you're a god, you're both gods. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. And but the second I said it, I was like, why did I say that? But they were like, but it was awesome, because they were both so lovely to work with. And Bradley, like, I already had like immense respect for him, but then after working with him, like, he truly could have been any kind of way and it would have been fine, because he's Bradley Cooper. But like, he stays on set, like he's there like morning till night, even when he's like not on camera, he's like helping, like he's so positive, like he's like clearly so passionate about making movies. Amazing. And like, you know, within 20 minutes of meeting him, because I get choked by him a few times in the episode, he's like on top of me, choking me. And like, you know, you're hearing things like, well, first he's saying these things that are like smart, where you're like, oh, that's genius. Where it's like, again, basic things, but you're like, oh, that's genius. Where it's like, he's choking me and he's like, why don't you grab my hand and like you choke yourself, and that way you can choke to your comfort level, and like that way I don't also like kill you, you know, like, and so that was really smart. But then also like while he's just like sitting on me, I hear him like whispering his lines to himself, like repeating them, like I like coin, keep talking. Like he's like said that like 5 different ways, and it's just one of those cool things. Like as an actor, you're like, oh man, he's an actor. Like you know, like he's human and he's an actor, and he's trying to remember his lines, and he's also trying to figure out a good way to say them. And like, and that was so cool to just like watch him do that. You're like watching like one of your heroes, like in their process was so cool. But I just like, it was so cool because every day he was like that, and he would ask me such like nice questions, and like really made me feel like a part of everything. And like he cared for my opinion on things, and it like and we just bonded over like David Lynch and, you know, Gene Hackman and people like and we talked a lot about David Lynch and like David Fincher and things, and it was like it was just like, oh man, he's like it was cool because like, oh, he's a guy, like he's a legend, but he's also like a guy, you know. And it was cool also just like see him put his like director's hat on, because there was like one tricky scene of like the coffin, and they're trying to put me in this coffin, and like he really like got down on his knees, and like they're trying to figure out this jib crane thing, and he like really got down. He's like, oh, you know, giving these like ideas, and like, you know, I'm seeing him like suddenly like sense where the camera's gonna be, and like play around with that, and I'm seeing like, oh, this is like what it's like when he's directing A Star Is Born or Maestro, or, you know, is this thing on, you know. And so that was really, really cool. And so that experience truly is like a top 3 experience in my life so far.
And you got to imagine that he's become a better actor because he's directed.
Yeah, right? I think so for sure.
I guess good actors know where the camera is, but it becomes even more of a deep understanding when you are behind it often.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think directing has made him a better actor, and I think acting made him a better director.
Yeah,
it's like I think one of the reasons he was just so amazing immediately coming out the gate was because he'd been around the block for so long, and so it's like he's gotten like 20 or 30, 20, you know, years of film school essentially, like acting in all these amazing films from all these amazing directors and all these, just a huge array of projects. I mean, he's kind of done every kind of thing under the sun. Yeah. And so then the second he's in the director's chair, he knows what to do. And like, I remember like in 2018 being like so touched by A Star Is Born, like, you know, and you know, I remember like I went to the store to go buy like a very similar like tan jacket that he wears in the film, like Jackson, Maine. And I remember I would do the voice with my brother, and I'd be like, I just want to take another look at you, you know, and so then to act with him, I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Like it really was, it was insane. But I really do think I think he's both things help him. Like the directing helps him as an actor, and the acting helps him as a director.
Yes.
And I think anyone would benefit from kind of seeing every angle of, you know, how the sausage is made.
For sure.
Because then it just makes you better at that other angle.
We talked before about all of these things that are coming out, all of these things that you've just filmed that are getting edited now or about to be done and everything. But you were generous to tell us about this law of attraction thing before. So what would you really like to be doing? You're doing these exciting films, you're working with exciting people, but is there something that you would like to do that you feel like it would be a real goal that you want to hit?
I have like a Mount Rushmore of actors, like my favorite actors, where it's like, I think maybe my favorite actor of all time is Montgomery Clift. He's my favorite of all time. I think he's the greatest. I think he kind of started everything. I mean, there's so many great people I love that came before him, but you know, he came before Marlon Brando and James Dean, and I love both of them dearly, but they often get like the credit for kind of what he started.
Right.
And you know, I love Daniel Day-Lewis, I love Philip Seymour Hoffman, I love Jack Nicholson. Like these people are my heroes, and so I think in the long term of things is I want to create a filmography that I look back on, I'm proud of in the same way that I look at theirs. Like where it's like, I want to create a filmography that's like, I am proud of that. That's work that's meaningful to me and hopefully is meaningful to others, where it's, you know, performances that are different, characters that are different, and following in the footsteps of those heroes of mine. I want to go where they've gone and achieve what they've achieved, but also more immediately, I think that just means, like continuing to work with great directors. Like I think when you find a director that is where you're like, okay, I feel like not like I can go on autopilot, but I can like come into your world and feel safe because I know you're an artist. Like, you know, we both just worked with Henry Chaisson, and I feel like that with him. I feel like he's an artist. And so down the line, I do want to work with, like Paul Thomas Anderson. I want to work with Andrea Arnold or like, you know, Damien Chazelle. I know some people for some reason, you know, there's a debate on like La La Land. I loved La La Land. That was the first movie I saw when I moved to LA, and he means so much to me as well. I think Babylon, like I think I would love to work with him. He's like a George Stevens type to me, you know. There's so many people I want to work with. More immediately, continuing to work on great films with great directors, and then as that snowballs, I would love to work with some heroes of mine like that. Or like before he's done, I would love to act with Daniel Day-Lewis, you know? That's a dream of mine. I think mainly, long-winded way of saying, I just want to, you know, I look at my heroes' filmographies as like a map where it's like, I'm like in this dark cave, and maybe they walked through their footsteps, and they all have their own different paths they took in the cave, but I'm trying to mimic their paths as much as possible, where it's like, I just want to follow these heroes of mine, and I want to go where they've gone, and I want to carry that torch, and it sounds so crazy and maybe cocky even to say, but I believe everyone is capable of greatness on this earth, and everyone is limitless. And I do think everyone should be after it. And I think I want to follow the greatness of my heroes, you know. To me, I really do believe, like, you know, the fact that we are sitting here in this room and there's this microphone and there's a Bible and there's a computer and all these things that have been created by people, where it's like, this table was a thought before it was a reality. Someone thought about this table, someone made it. Everything in life, you know, to the like halal stand I just got a water bottle from outside before I came in. Everything was a thought before it was a thing. Yeah. And to me, that is constant living proof that is around us 24/7, that anything is possible. And I'm of firm belief that anyone can be or do or have anything they want. Like I feel like the universe and where we are is already so absurd. It's absurd that we exist. It's absurd that anything is happening. It's absurd that, you know, after this, I'll go pop into the subway and appear at Grand Central, and I'll maybe have AirPods in, and I'll be listening to music that's like art someone made. All of it's absurd. And so but to me, it's everything around me is proof that anyone can be or do or have anything. And I think everyone should be chasing greatness. And it always feels so cocky or weird to talk about that, especially with the arts. It feels like it's almost not frowned upon, but it's almost like, hey, you shouldn't care. You should have a cigarette and you should be drinking alcohol and maybe feel like a bit of a bum, And I do often feel that way as well, but I do believe everyone should be after greatness, Like I don't, and it doesn't mean you have to feel beautifully positive 24/7, but I think like, why not chase it, because everything is already so absurd.
And it also doesn't mean that you can't still be humble.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
That as well. Because I think you do need both. You need to be humble, but yet you should strive and be ambitious. But you should also, because it's like the Bradley Cooper thing. How I was mentioning, like he's like a legend, but he's also a guy. Like I think all at once anyone can be great, all at once everyone is both capable of mass greatness, but they're also human. And so if you accomplish this greatness, it doesn't mean like, hey, look down on people, or it means send the ladder back down and help uplift other people, and like don't I'm of course not a firm belief as well as like talking about your accomplishments like you hung the moon, where it's like, okay, like you don't need to tout everything you've done in like a cocky sort of way. It's almost like you're tending to your garden and tend to it in like a precious way, and you can care about your garden, and then you go let it just be in the sun, and you go about your day, but chase having a great garden. Yes. I believe in having a great garden,
Kimball Farley, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of The Gotham. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.